chosen one. In a world where truth is often buried under noise, where innocence is questioned and patience is mistaken for weakness, you were placed in situations that forced you to stand alone without explanation. While others rushed to defend themselves, you were guided to remain silent. While accusations echoed, you were taught endurance. And while the world passed judgment, heaven paused to observe. Understand this. Now your struggle was never ordinary, because your case was never handled on earth alone. In the unseen, a higher court was convened, one that does not rely on witnesses who lie or tongues that distort, but on intentions, sincerity, and steadfast faith. This is the Midnight Court, where Allah reviews what the world misunderstood, where patience outweighs defense, and where a final decision is made in absolute justice. If you feel a shift approaching, if your heart senses closure before confirmation, it is because heaven has already spoken and the verdict is about to manifest in your life. You believed the silence meant neglect, that the unanswered prayers and delayed justice were signs that your story had been overlooked. But in reality, Allah was preserving your case with a precision only the divine can execute. Because what is rushed can be corrupted, but what is preserved is perfected. And while people judged you by fragments of a story they never fully understood, Allah was collecting every unseen detail: the nights you cried when no one checked on you, the restraint you exercised when retaliation was justified, the dignity you maintained when your name was dragged through suspicion, for Allah does not misplace even the weight of an atom, and every tear you wiped away without complaint became evidence in your favor. Every moment of patience when your heart was burning became a witness. Every time you trusted Allah while feeling abandoned elevated your position in ways you could not see. Because divine justice does not operate on human timelines, it operates on readiness, and Allah delayed the verdict not because your case was weak, but because the outcome was too heavy to release prematurely, knowing that if justice came early, it would only relieve you, but if it came at the appointed time, it would transform you, silence your enemies, correct false narratives, and establish your honor without you having to defend yourself. And this is why the pressure increased instead of easing, why misunderstandings deepened instead of clearing, why doors stayed closed even when you knocked correctly. Allah was sealing the case from interference, protecting it from manipulation, and ensuring that when the decision finally manifested, it would arrive complete, undeniable, and irreversible. For when Allah preserves a case, He does not merely prove innocence, He elevates the servant beyond the need for validation. And one day, you will look back and realize that what felt like abandonment was actually divine custody, where your dignity, faith, and future were guarded by Allah Himself, until the perfect moment arrived for the truth to rise without resistance. Not every soul is brought before the Midnight Court, because not every life carries a destiny heavy enough to require such a level of unseen judgment. And this is what separates the chosen from the ordinary, for when Allah places you in trials that cannot be explained, defended, or escaped, it is because your growth demands an environment where only faith can function. And while others receive quick clarity, you were given prolonged uncertainty, so your reliance on Allah could be purified, because the Midnight Court is not about punishment, but about positioning, where angels who recorded your restraint, your unanswered duas, and your quiet endurance stand as witnesses to your sincerity. And when the pressure intensified suddenly, when isolation grew heavier, when familiar support faded without reason, it was not a sign of collapse, but confirmation that your test had reached a level where human intervention could no longer assist you. For Allah removes all false supports before issuing a divine decision, ensuring that when relief arrives, you know with certainty it came from Him alone. And this is why the nights became heavier than the days, why your heart wrestled with questions no one could answer, because in the unseen realm, Your case was being reviewed with precision. Your intentions were being weighed beyond your actions, and your silence was being measured as worship. And understand this truth: the midnight court only convenes when a servant has passed every test of ego, reaction, and resentment, proving they can be trusted with elevation without corruption. And this is why the process felt lonely, delayed, and severe. Because Allah does not prepare chosen ones publicly, He prepares them privately. And when the midnight court concludes, it does not announce itself with noise, but with alignment, where obstacles begin to move without force, where peace replaces confusion, and where your life quietly shifts into a position that cannot be undone, confirming that what you endured was not random suffering, but sacred refinement for a role that only the chosen are permitted to carry. Every false accusation, every whispered lie, every distortion of your character was not a weapon against you. It was a testament against the one who spoke it. For Allah allows tongues to run freely, not to harm His chosen, but to reveal the intentions of others. And while they thought they were shaping your downfall, every misword, every unjust claim, and every rumor became evidence of their own heart's corruption, recorded by angels with precision and impartiality. Because in the unseen realm, intentions weigh far more than appearances, and deeds are measured not by the world's perception, but by the purity or deceit behind them. And this is why some people could not stand the light of your silence, why envy burned when they could not touch you, why their words seemed louder than reality. For in trying to bring you low, they were exposing themselves, and the very energy they poured into attacking you became part of the case that heaven was reviewing, demonstrating their own imbalance, their own hypocrisy, their own accountability. And while you restrained your tongue, preserved your dignity, and trusted Allah alone to defend you, the midnight court took note of their every motion, every hidden motive, every subtle intention, because Allah's justice does not rely on your explanation, but on the truth hidden in hearts and deeds. And this is why when the final verdict arrives, it will not require your justification. It will not need your defense, because their own actions have already testified. Their own words have already sealed the judgment. And what was meant to harm you will instead confirm your righteousness, your patience, and your elevated status, proving that when Allah judges, He does so with absolute precision, turning every scheme against you into undeniable evidence of His protection, your honor, and their exposure, reminding the world that the chosen are never truly alone, for while humans judge, heaven records, and in that recording, truth cannot be altered, manipulated, or silenced. Chosen one, in a world where every voice competes for attention, where opinions are louder than truth, and where the world demands explanation for every action, you were placed in a position that required the highest form of restraint, a silence so profound that it could only be recognized in the unseen, a silence that became your most powerful form of worship. For every time you resisted the urge to defend yourself, every time you held your tongue when false accusations surrounded you, every moment you chose patience over reaction, Allah was counting it as a sacred act of devotion, unseen by human eyes but witnessed by the angels, meticulously recorded in a ledger of deeds that no injustice can touch, because the ultimate measure of faith is not in how loudly you proclaim your innocence, but in how faithfully you endure when no one is watching. And the greater the injustice, the greater the reward when it is met with silence, humility, and unwavering reliance upon Allah. For your quiet endurance became a shield around your heart, a purification of your intentions, and a preparation for elevations that could not arrive until your soul had been trained to trust completely, to surrender fully, and to recognize that not every battle requires a voice, not every conflict requires confrontation, and not every lie requires rebuttal. The world may have interpreted your silence as weakness, apathy, or even surrender. But in reality, it was a deliberate act of worship, a conscious choice to submit your affairs entirely to Allah, understanding that He alone sees the truth of your heart, weighs your sincerity, and multiplies your patience. For while humans speak impulsively, judge unjustly, and seek immediate gratification, Allah operates on a scale that is invisible, precise, and eternal. And in this sacred silence, you were building spiritual authority that no argument could achieve, influence that no words could claim, and protection that no retaliation could create. Your silence became a fortress, guarding your heart against bitterness, your soul against corruption, and your faith against doubt, for the angels were recording not just what you refrained from saying, but the intention behind every withheld response, every swallowed complaint, every calm breath when your heart was burning with injustice. And these acts of restraint became more valuable than any public display of righteousness, more profound than any spoken defense, and more powerful than any act of retaliation, because Allah measures deeds by intention, and patience exercised in the face of harm, injustice, and misunderstanding is the pinnacle of obedience, the most refined form of ibadah, the highest level of worship that prepares a soul for divine elevation, unseen provision, and unmatched honor. And while those who attacked you thought they were shaping your downfall, your silence became a testimony to your strength, a reflection of your faith, and a declaration of Allah's protection. For the one who remains silent in obedience is untouchable by envy, untarnished by slander, and unshakable by opposition, and every delay, every ignored insult, every perceived injustice became a brick in the foundation of your ultimate triumph, because Allah is not only judging the deeds that are seen, but the intentions that are hidden. And when your life is reviewed in the unseen, your quiet endurance speaks louder than any words, more eloquently than any argument, and more convincingly than any defense, proving that the chosen are never truly powerless, even when they appear still, for heaven has already recognized your obedience, your patience, and your faith, and has recorded it as ibadah, elevating you spiritually while preparing you to rise in every aspect of life, with doors opening quietly, blessings arriving unexpectedly, and respect manifesting without effort. And when the final decree manifests on earth, it will not be loud, it will not require explanation, and it will not need validation from human approval, because your silence has already built a case stronger than any courtroom, a testimony deeper than any argument, and a spiritual authority that no one can challenge, proving that true worship is not in what is spoken, but in what is restrained, in what is endured, and in what is surrendered entirely to Allah, and that the chosen who master the sacred art of silence carry a power the world cannot see, a dignity the world cannot touch, and a presence that commands recognition not through words, but through the undeniable manifestation of divine favor in every area of life, confirming that every moment of patience, every tear shed privately, every hurt endured quietly, and every injustice met with calm was not in vain, but counted as worship, recorded in the highest courts of heaven, and prepared to yield blessings, honor, and victory far beyond human comprehension, because silence for Allah's sake is not absence, it is devotion, it is strength, it is ibadah, and it is the very signature of the chosen soul. Chosen one, understand this deeply. When Allah finally moves on your behalf, when the midnight court reaches its decision, it is never limited to merely lifting burdens or granting relief from pain. The divine verdict is never partial, it is complete, and it does not simply return what was lost. It transforms the balance of your life, reverses circumstances, and positions you in a reality that reflects not only your endurance, but the full weight of heaven's justice. For the one who oversees your affairs does not merely wipe away injustice without replacing it with elevation, does not merely correct false accusations without flipping the narrative in ways that humans cannot comprehend, and does not simply reward patience without multiplying its effects far beyond what the mind can measure, because Allah's justice is never ordinary, and for the chosen, relief is always accompanied by restoration, reversal, and repositioning, meaning that those who sought to bring you low will find their schemes turned against them, that every door that closed to you will open in your favor, that every delay, denial, and detour will suddenly transform into a pathway toward your greatest provision, and that what was once a source of suffering will become a source of recognition, honor, and unstoppable momentum. For the Midnight Court does not review cases for the ordinary. It convenes only for those whose souls are capable of holding immense responsibility, those whose patience has been tested beyond human comprehension, and those whose hearts have remained intact despite betrayal, ridicule, and opposition. And in this sacred process, every injustice you endured, every false word spoken against you, every tear you shed in silence, every moment you felt invisible or abandoned, becomes part of the evidence that the angels present to the throne, showing that your character remained intact, your faith remained unwavering, and your reliance on Allah remained pure. And as a result, the verdict does not merely dismiss the hardships, it transforms them, turning enemies into witnesses, adversities into platforms, delays into divine timing, and weaknesses into power. And when this reversal begins to manifest, it is often quiet at first, subtle in ways that seem almost imperceptible. Yet it accelerates rapidly, unseen forces aligning, connections being made, opportunities opening without effort, and blessings cascading in ways that defy logic. Because heaven never acts partially, and when the chosen are elevated, the shift is total, undeniable, and irreversible. And this is why the one who has endured silently, resisted the urge to retaliate, and placed absolute trust in Allah, is granted more than mere relief. They are granted proof, vindication, and authority, because the verdict of the Midnight Court is designed to honor endurance, reward restraint, and establish permanence. And while the world may have counted losses, overlooked patience, and underestimated the chosen, the unseen has recorded every act, every intention, every moment of reliance upon Allah. And the reversal is not just a compensation for what was taken, it is an elevation that reshapes destiny itself, a repositioning that grants recognition to the soul that walked through fire without burning, a manifestation that demonstrates clearly that heaven's decisions are neither delayed nor denied, but executed at the perfect time and in the perfect measure. And this is why the chosen feel an internal shift before the external signs appear, a peace that surpasses understanding, even while the world is still chaotic around them, because Allah's verdict is already unfolding invisibly, reversing every moment of injustice, realigning every area of life, and bringing those who were once opposed into a position of acknowledgement, submission, or admiration, proving that true divine justice is not simply about relief, it is about reversal, a complete transformation where what was meant for harm is redirected toward triumph, what was meant for humiliation becomes a testimony of honor, and what was meant to break the spirit becomes the foundation of unstoppable elevation. And the one who has remained patient, silent, and steadfast throughout knows that this reversal is not just personal vindication, but a divine message to the world, that when Allah decides, no obstacle can remain, no enemy can prevail, and no delay is wasted. For every act of patience, every moment of restraint, every tear shed quietly, every injustice endured without retaliation, has been counted, weighed, and multiplied, preparing the chosen for a reality so elevated, so aligned, so undeniable, that it cannot be explained by human effort, human reasoning, or human timing, only by the wisdom, precision, and ultimate justice of Allah. And when this reversal manifests, it will not merely bring relief, it will bring victory, recognition, restoration, honor, provision, and the kind of elevation that transforms not only your circumstances, but your entire trajectory, proving that the verdict of the midnight court is never ordinary, never partial, and never incomplete. Because when heaven rules in favor of the chosen, it rules in a way that changes everything, reverses everything, and secures everything for the one who placed unwavering trust in Allah, remained patient under pressure, and allowed silence to become their most powerful weapon, knowing that in the end, the verdict does not just relieve, it reverses, redeems, and establishes a legacy that cannot be challenged, erased, or denied. Chosen one, understand this truth clearly. When Allah decides to elevate a servant, the shift does not always arrive with noise, applause, or public recognition, for true divine elevation is subtle, unseen, and quietly powerful, moving in ways that the eyes may not immediately perceive, but the soul unmistakably feels. And while the world chases loud success, visible victory, and immediate validation, Allah operates on a scale beyond human comprehension, positioning you in a reality where doors open without effort, opportunities align without forcing, and influence manifests without struggle. Because when the midnight court has finalized a decision in your favor, the outcome is designed to be permanent, irreversible, and protected from envy, sabotage, or human interference. And this is why patience and restraint have been so essential, because the chosen cannot be elevated prematurely, and the one who rises without preparation will falter, whereas the one whose heart, soul, and intentions have been refined through trials, silence, and trust will find that their elevation is unshakable, unstoppable, and continuous, flowing through every aspect of life like an invisible current that shifts circumstances, aligns provision, and commands respect without a single word. And while you may not see immediate results or feel the change outwardly at first, understand that every unseen hand, every divine arrangement, and every subtle alignment is part of the plan to establish you permanently in the position Allah has decreed, a position that cannot be taken away, reversed, or diminished by human opposition, envy, or interference. And this is why the chosen often feel a sense of peace, clarity, and calm, even while the world around them remains chaotic, because the quiet elevation begins internally before manifesting externally, building strength, wisdom, resilience, and spiritual authority that no loud display can replicate. And while others may attempt to measure success by visibility, recognition, or applause, Allah measures elevation by alignment, protection, permanence, and the unseen readiness of the heart to receive it. And this is why every trial, every moment of delay, every period of isolation, every injustice endured, and every act of patience and trust has been meticulously preparing you to receive not a fleeting or superficial elevation, but a profound, enduring transformation that will affect your life, your character, your influence, and your legacy in ways that cannot be undone, undermined, or diluted, for heaven secures the position of the chosen, and the one whose case has been finalized in the midnight court will find that obstacles that once seemed insurmountable begin to dissolve effortlessly, connections that once were blocked now flow with ease, and resources that once seemed distant or impossible arrive at the right time, in the right form, and in perfect alignment with divine wisdom. And while the world may not understand the timing, the method, or the subtlety of this shift, your heart will know the truth. Your soul will recognize the alignment, and your life will begin to move in a rhythm orchestrated entirely by Allah, guided entirely by divine wisdom, and protected entirely from corruption, envy, or failure, because permanent elevation is not only about position, wealth, or recognition. It is about stability, protection, spiritual authority, and alignment with Allah's plan. And this is why the chosen often experience their greatest growth in silence, for it is in the quiet, unseen shifts that true power is cultivated, integrity is preserved, and readiness is perfected. And the one who has endured trials without complaint, remained patient through uncertainty, resisted the urge to retaliate, and trusted Allah completely, is the one whose elevation cannot be contested, whose success cannot be undone, and whose trajectory cannot be altered, because heaven itself has secured the foundation, set the path, and aligned every unseen force to ensure that when manifestation arrives, it is not temporary, it is not dependent on circumstance, and it cannot be diminished by human opposition, delay, or misunderstanding. And this is why the chosen often feel a sense of quiet anticipation, a subtle calm, and a growing awareness that the world is shifting in ways that cannot yet be seen, for the elevation is permanent and begins invisibly, weaving provision, influence, recognition, and divine favor into every corner of life. And while others may be distracted by temporary chaos, conflict, or competition, you are moving forward on a path that cannot be derailed, a destiny that cannot be stolen, and a station that cannot be challenged. Because when Allah elevates the chosen, it is with permanence, protection, and power. And while the world may not see it yet, the angels have already observed it, the heavens have already aligned it, and your soul has already been prepared to receive it, proving that true elevation is never about noise, it is never about haste, and it is never fleeting. It is quiet, it is deliberate, and it is eternal, a reflection of divine favor, a reward for endurance, and a manifestation of the power, wisdom, and perfection that Allah grants only to those who have been chosen, prepared, and preserved through trials, silence, and unwavering faith, ensuring that when the shift becomes visible, it is undeniable, permanent, and a testimony not only to your patience, trust, and faith, but also to the absolute precision and justice of the one who rules the unseen and orchestrates every detail of destiny according to his infinite wisdom. Chosen one, understand this with unwavering clarity. When the midnight court has spoken, when Allah has reviewed your case, weighed your intentions, recorded every tear, every moment of patience, every act of restraint, and every prayer uttered in silence, the verdict that emerges is final, absolute, and irreversible. And unlike human courts where decisions can be challenged, appealed, delayed, or corrupted by bias, envy, or manipulation, the divine decree does not allow for reversals, reconsideration, or interference, because it is rooted in perfect justice, executed with infinite wisdom, and preserved beyond the reach of worldly influence. And this is why your patience, your restraint, and your faith have been tested to the fullest, because only the one who demonstrates unwavering trust, unshakable integrity, and relentless reliance upon Allah is permitted to receive a verdict of this magnitude, a verdict that cannot be undermined, overturned, or diminished by human opposition. For when heaven has spoken, the decision transcends earthly perception, defies human judgment, and establishes a permanent reality in your favor. And while you may have endured betrayal, false accusations, silence, and misunderstanding, all of it has been meticulously documented in the unseen, carefully weighed against the intentions and actions of others, and perfectly measured according to divine wisdom. And in this sacred process, every insult endured, every injustice survived, every moment of restraint maintained, and every tear shed quietly has not only strengthened your character, but has also fortified the foundation upon which your permanent elevation is built, because Allah does not grant such irrevocable favor to the unprepared, the impatient, or the faint-hearted, but only to the chosen, the steadfast, and the faithful, who have proven that they can carry the weight of divine justice without faltering, without resentment, and without deviation from their path. And this is why the finality of the decision is both a reward and a protection, ensuring that those who sought to harm you cannot interfere, those who doubted cannot alter it, and those who opposed cannot overturn it, because the decree is sealed in the highest courts of heaven, supported by angels, aligned with the wisdom of Allah, and secured beyond the reach of human ambition or manipulation. And while the world may continue to test, provoke, or misunderstand, know that their efforts cannot impact the outcome, for the chosen are shielded by the permanence of heaven's ruling, and every aspect of life that has been delayed, every blessing postponed, every door that remained closed has been intentionally timed to coincide with this final, unchangeable verdict, ensuring that when it manifests in your reality, the shift is total, undeniable, and complete, and no one can claim influence over it, no one can challenge its authority, and no one can dispute its outcome, because divine justice, once executed, operates on an eternal scale that humans cannot comprehend, cannot predict, and cannot manipulate. And this is why the chosen feel a profound inner peace even before the full manifestation occurs, a sense of alignment and certainty that cannot be shaken by chaos, opposition, or uncertainty, because the permanent nature of the ruling provides stability, protection, and confirmation that every trial endured was counted, every hardship survived was measured, and every act of faith maintained has been rewarded in a manner that is complete, irreversible, and secured by the one who sees, hears, and knows all things. And this is also why the chosen are often misunderstood, envied, and opposed in the moments leading to manifestation, because heaven tests not only the patience of the servant, but also the reactions of those who opposed them, ensuring that when the permanent favor arrives, it is clear to all, undeniable to all, and transformative in every way. And the one who has remained silent, patient, and faithful through trials will recognize the perfection of the decree, the precision of its timing, and the impossibility of its reversal, for heaven's decisions are final, unassailable, and eternal. And the chosen, having passed every trial, endured every test, and trusted without hesitation, will move forward into a reality that cannot be challenged, a life that cannot be undone, and a destiny that is permanently aligned with divine will, proving beyond any doubt that when Allah decides, no opposition can stand, no delay can persist, no enemy can prevail, and no human interference can alter what heaven has established, and the one who has been chosen, prepared, and preserved through trials will witness their life shift into perfect alignment, receiving blessings, honor, protection, provision, and elevation that are both undeniable and irreversible, because the verdict has been sealed in the midnight court. The decision cannot be appealed, and the chosen are now free to walk into the manifestation of a reality fully approved, fully guarded, and fully ordained by the one who never errs, never delays without purpose, and whose justice is absolute, complete, and permanent. Chosen one, now you see the full picture. Every trial you endured, every moment of silence, every tear you shed, every injustice you faced, every delay, every closed door, every betrayal, every whispered lie, every false accusation, none of it was meaningless. Heaven has been listening. Allah has been recording. The midnight court has deliberated, weighed your patience, measured your intentions, and finalized your case with absolute precision. And the verdict is clear. Your elevation is permanent, Your honor is restored, your path is aligned, and your destiny cannot be reversed, challenged, or stolen. What once felt like abandonment was actually preparation. What once felt like defeat was actually refinement. What once felt like silence was actually worship. Every person who opposed you, every moment of misunderstanding, every obstacle, all of it was part of the evidence, and Allah has used it to secure your victory. Now, move forward with unwavering confidence, because what is coming is undeniable, unstoppable, and divinely guaranteed. Trust in it, embrace it, and step boldly into your reality. For the chosen do not need validation from the world. Heaven has already spoken. And remember, this is only the beginning. The doors are opening, the chains are breaking, the scales of justice have tipped, and your life is about to reflect the final decision of the midnight court. So rise, chosen one, with patience in your heart, gratitude in your soul, and faith that never wavers, because Allah's favor is upon you, and no force on earth or in the unseen can overturn what heaven has decreed. The world may have doubted, but now it will witness. The chosen are unstoppable, undeniable, and unstoppable by anything other than the will of Allah, and that will is always perfect, always just, and always eternal.